Okay. Good morning. I think everything's working, which is wonderful. Hello to everybody via the Zoom link. My call to karmas. Hello to everybody on YouTube. Like, hit the bell button, subscribe. Great to have you. Thanks for being here. I just make sure everything is indeed going as planned. And then we'll get into it. How are you all? Super happy to be with you all. How's my impact group from last night? Fantastic. Kathy, that means the world to me. Means the world to me. I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Really good. Strong like bull. Nope, don't have new equipment. Nope. Buy some headphones. Hi, Christy. Thanks, Anarita. That means the world to me. Thank you, Sheena. Very good. Thank you for asking. Really good. Thank you, Terence. All right. So, a lot of ground to cover. Wow, there's a lot going on. I get to these Wednesday calls and, we've got the opportunity to do these streams on YouTube on Wednesdays. And it's like, well, what do I talk about? Because there's just so much going on. And I think that it would be somewhat of a shame if I didn't clue people in as to, what the broader context for our time is and, how everything is playing out and why everything's happening in the way that it is. For me, and it's how I've experienced it, and it's how millions of people all over the world have experienced it, is that, I keep saying this, like, I'm not in your life to fix you, to heal you, to change you, or improve you, because actually there is no imperfection in your lived experience of being human. Your lived experience of being human is not an individual phenomenon, it's a universal one. So actually there is this illusion that there are things happening to you, but actually there are things happening for other people. You're having experiences for other people. Why? Because you're making universal love accessible and relatable through your experience of being a human being. So for example, if you've gone through something, it allows you to authentically connect to people who are going through the same thing. And more often than not in life, when you actually experience these things, they don't make any sense. And as human beings, we spend all of our time trying to make sense of things that aren't personal. Until one day we meet another human being who's going through something similar. And because we've had that experience, because we've gone through that on a personal level, we have a deep and profound experience of it within ourselves, we're able to then relate. We're able to then connect from the heart. And so this whole human thing really is just an avenue through which this universal consciousness makes itself known and available. And after a while, you begin to realize that none of it really means much of anything. It's just the way that it needs to be. And there's no need to attach to any of it or to identify with any of it. Actually, it's interesting. In a world where people are striving for greater levels of identification, I seek none. Because any level of identification that you have or attachment, even to oneness or enlightenment, you're just connecting to a part of the truth. Because in any moment you have to be exactly the way that you are. For who? For others. So of course your life doesn't make any sense. Of course, no matter how much you fix it, heal it, change it, try and have it be different, it doesn't change. Of course you have the things that you're supposed to have and don't have the things that you're not meant to. Because there is a perfection to the uniqueness of you that allows you to connect to people in a way that I never could. And at some point we have to realize that it is that authenticity and that uniqueness that is our superpower. I have had very little to no use for my humanity for pretty much the existence of my life. For me, the party got ruined at a very early age because I just realized that this whole thing wasn't what it was cracked out to be, right? Like everyone was living for things that I just couldn't get behind. I couldn't get on board with. I just couldn't be motivated to further compound my suffering. And for me, this awareness or this insight or this ability to see through the whole thing was cultivated at a very early age. And so while people were continuing to forge ahead and strive and persevere and attain and move toward things that were just empty and vacuous and hollow, I couldn't. And I think for so much of my life, I made myself wrong for not being more driven or motivated or ambitious or, pretending like everything's wonderful and that success is going to solve all my problems, or, that if I live society's definition of what I'm supposed to be like, I'm going to be great, or even spirituality's definition or personal development's definition. So my life really has been interesting in that regard. And I think so many of you can relate. How many of you can also relate? Like you're just not driven by the same things that other people are driven by. You're not motivated by the same things that other people are motivated by. What people are living for is not what you're living for. And so many of you have made yourself so fundamentally wrong because you can't play the game. And the reason why you can't play the game is because deep down inside, you know it's a game. You know it's a game. There is a part of you that has always been awake and aware in the midst of this all, that has always remembered the truth. And so I've come here to let you know that there is no personal self. There is no individual self. There's just a universal one. And that human beings are just unique entry points or windows into that same truth. And that is actually the possibility and the potential that every one of you represents. And the more you are vulnerable, the more you are open, the more you are transparent, and the more you are honest with yourself and others, the more you give people an entry point into that universal love, that universal consciousness that everyone's talking about, that is actually a reality. So when I realized that there was no individual self, that this whole Panache thing was a complete fabrication made up in the mind of God, or the divine, or the universe, I stopped participating in it. Now, funnily enough, still living life, still married, father of 4, a son to loving parents, right? So life is still happening. But life is happening in the way that it needs to for all of you. My life, in fact, is not my own. My lived experience is not for me. My life and my lived experience is for all of you. And every single thing that I've gone through is so that I can sit here today and be with all of you. Because I get to be that unique window through which you remember who you are, you access yourselves, you live from an empowered place within your own beings, and you contribute from there. And in that same way, all of you are that as well. How many of you are beginning to get that you are all also a unique glimpse into some infinite mystery? That every single one of you is a unique glimpse, a unique invitation, a unique entry point into some infinite mystery that's so much bigger than all of us. It's just so much bigger than all of us, right? So that's the purpose of our humanity. And then we can start to drop it. We can start to let it go. We can start to walk away from things. We can start to not take it as seriously. We can start to realize, hey, hang on a minute. In any given moment, I give myself permission to be exactly the way that I am. Because in being the way that I am, I'm providing others, the illusion of others, an entry point into the truth of themselves. So your life is the initiation. Your life is the medicine. Your life is the ministry. It's the temple, the mosque, the church, the place of worship. Your life is that. You are that. And there is an infinite intelligence at work that's beyond all of us that is architecting the whole thing. And this is the very articulation of thy will be done. So many of you throughout the course of your lives feel like you've deviated from a path, you've made mistakes, you've done things wrong, you're stubborn in your resistance, right? But you don't realize that you're supposed to be that way. Do you know how many stubborn people there are in this world, beloved? Thank you for your service. Your willingness to be stubborn is fantastic because there are so many stubborn people in the world. So now all of a sudden you become an entry point for every stubborn person, every resistant person, every person who's still stuck in the past or whatever, to move into liberation. But were you not that way, that possibility and that potential would not be available to others. So when you start to realize there is no individual self, there's just a universal consciousness. We're all the same light, we're all the same love, we're all the same energy. Go to any great being, explore the mystical elements of any mainstream religion, and they'll tell you the same thing. We're all the same light, we're all the same love, we're all the same consciousness. It is only our attachment to this illusion that we're individuals, that we're having an individual experience, that, I shared this. Growing up in England, we had this very talented a gentleman called Andrew Lloyd Webber. And Andrew Lloyd Webber put on some fantastic musicals. I don't know what he's like as a person. I cannot comment on his character. But as it relates to musicals, Andrew Lloyd Webber will go down in history. Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber will go down in history as probably one of the best to do it, right? So I have to give him his flowers. Again, never met the man. Could be a complete jerk in his personal life. I have no idea, right? But as it relates to musicals, fantastic. Andrew Lloyd Webber was responsible for the creation of a musical called Jesus Christ Superstar. And I kind of shared this funny insight yesterday. I said, at some point you have to stop being Mick Jagger, wearing a sequin onesie, and you have to realize that Jesus Christ Superstar is in charge. Right? Some of you have made yourselves into Mick Jagger, prancing around in a sequin onesie. Nothing wrong with that. Mick, if you're watching, love you. Especially appreciate your virality in your later years. I hope I have the energy like that to do what you're doing at your age. But anyway, the point is this, that people are living in this illusion that they're the rock star of their reality, that they're the architect of their reality, that they're in charge of their reality, that their life has something to do with them, rather than remembering that Jesus Christ is the one and only superstar. And for you, according to your faith, fill in the blank. It doesn't matter, right? But the point is this. How could there be anything wrong with you if you're exactly the way that you have to be to give people a glimpse into the truth of themselves? Then isn't everything that happens here a manifestation of love and an entry point into mercy and freedom? Right? And that's what you are. So just take some breaths and just open your palms. My role in your life and everything that happens here, Impact is not a personal development or spiritual development program. It's a jailbreak. I'm in your life to get you out of the prison of attachment and identification, a prison that most of you don't even know that you're living in, but a prison nonetheless that creates excruciating suffering for you on a daily basis, even though some of you have accomplished unprecedented things. So I'm the person that shows up in your life when you're ready for this jailbreak. So let's get you out of jail. Now, what is this jail? Everything that you've latched onto, everything that you've identified with as you. And all we're going to do is unshackle you from everything that you've overly identified with. Happen to be a master lockpick. Some of you have overly identified with emotions, and you've confused them for you. Some of you have overly identified with the story. It's the only thing that you lead with the story. You tell everyone the story. You've overly identified with it. It's all you know yourself as. Well, let's unshackle you from that. Some of you overly identify with your physical circumstance. Some of you overly identify with your financial circumstance. But the only reason why any of this is a problem is because you think that somehow you're involved in any of it, or that any of it is happening because of you. So just seeing these beautiful golden keys fitting into every lock, every attachment, every point of identification that you have, and all of a sudden, as if by magic, abracadabra, you're free from that attachment, free from that point of identification. Until eventually, you and I are both standing outside the prison, appreciating it. Just appreciating it. Wow, this is amazing. No wonder you thought it was real. Look how convincing it is. But here, the part of you that's here, outside of it with me, is the part of you that's real. Just continue to breathe and relax. And just leave me a 1 or a yes in the chat. When you start to feel a shift inside, it's like, oh, I get it. There is no individual or personal self. There's just a universal one. So then, Panache is in my life to help facilitate my jailbreak. I don't want things. I don't want accomplishments. I don't even want oneness or enlightenment. I want freedom in the fullest and truest sense of the word. I want to be free. I want to be free of all of these things that I've become attached to or that I've overly identified with. It's really what I want. It's the only thing that I've ever wanted. So just continuing to get to a place where you begin to feel the liberation from the Maya, from the illusion, from the game, simulation, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, the hologram, your life. And just noticing what happens when you first of all acknowledge that you are in prison and that what keeps you in this prison, is attachment and identification. What frees you from it is acceptance, embracing, nurturing, loving yourself. How many of you can now leave me a 1 or a yes in the chat, or let me know in the chat, especially in a Cool to Calm Zoom call. Let me know when you feel a shift inside. It's like, oh, I get it. I get it. There's only ever been a universal consciousness. I'm a part of this universal consciousness, this universal love, whatever you want to call it. It's really hard to describe. And everyone and everything is a part of that same universal love, that same universal consciousness. So there are people walking around thinking that they're having a personal experience, and that's why they're suffering. Or they're just overly attached or overly identified with things, and that's why they're suffering. And then there are those of us who are making ourselves wrong for our inability to personalize any of it. Do you know how hard it is for you to take any of this seriously when you know it's an illusion? So what is liberation? Well, liberation is being free of it all. Now, if I no longer have any use for any of this, why does it keep happening? Well, because it's supposed to. How else was I supposed to reach you? But here's the difference. I still go through things. I still have experiences. But I'm going through things and having experiences for all of you. I had one last night I'd like to share with you. I finished my call. It was a soul-stirring call. One of the best ever. And I then proceeded to take care of some home stuff, like paperwork stuff, just tying up kind of some ideas and things I want to get done this year. And then sat down with Jan to watch Still Magnolias. Now, there's a version of Still Magnolias that I remember that's drastically different than the version of Still Magnolias that I watched. And I will say, I love Still Magnolias, the movie. What an amazing cast of women. Unbelievable. And what a great story. However, I didn't remember the story. I didn't remember everything that happened. Jan has this uncanny ability to always pick a movie where something or someone dies in it. The children and I know that when mum or my wife, their mum, my wife, picks a movie, there is a dog or a cat or a parent or something that's going to die in the movie. I knew this going into the movie, but I forgot for a second the story. I was in a state of absolute devastation, tears rolling down my face. I mean, shaken to my core, having an experience when they turned off the life support machine. I'm like, damn it, she got me again. Why is it that every single time she picks a movie, something dies in it? Someone dies in it. The kids and I have come to a conclusion that this is some deeply embedded Roman Catholic conditioning that's still entrenched in her, that hasn't recovered from the loss of Jesus. And so every day, somehow, every time she picks a movie, something dies in it so that we can relive the loss of something adorable, something cute, something that we love, something that's deeply connected to us. I bawled like a baby. And I'm just wondering, for those of you that are married to Roman Catholics too, is this a phenomenon that you're experiencing as well? Leave me a 1 or a yes in the chat if you too have the great honor of being married to someone who's Roman Catholic, who also has this uncanny ability to pick movies where somebody or something dies. Or is it just me? I don't know. I'm hoping that I had that experience last night for some of you who are also having this experience, because if you also are having this experience, then it normalizes the fact that I had it. In the event, and Jan coincidentally wanted to be a nun, in the event that you are not having that experience, then I have not met the person that I need to have that experience for yet. This is how life works. And this is one of many examples of how I continue to have experiences for all of you. I had to watch that movie for all of you. I had to bawl my eyes out for all of you. See? There is no personal experience. There is no individual experience. There is just a universal consciousness, a universal intelligence. There is just something, something deeper at work here. Something deeper at work here. Something deeper at work. So I'm giving you a humorous example, but I could have given you any example. Of course, that story was about a beautiful girl who was diabetic, who wanted to have a child, who subsequently underwent a kidney transplant. So, in the context of my life, in the context of my experience, my family, which I'm having for all of you, and having a child who had a transplant, who just celebrated her 10th birthday, it resonated in a way that I don't think that it would have otherwise. And so, after a while, we begin to come to our senses, and we realize that life is not personal, it's universal. The will of this infinite intelligence is being done in every moment. Now we're aware of it. And that now that we can step out of it, we don't have to be attached to anything. We don't have to identify with any of it. We can just have a sense of freedom to play our role in the illusion, in the movie, in the drama, in the production, called life. Called life. You are not an individual. You are a window, an entry point, an invitation into infinite love. Hey, thanks for listening today. Laurel. Stop typing. Om Shanti, Golden Key. Day 1418. Oh, okie dokie. Let's do it. Deep breaths, you beautiful humans. Deep breaths. Good morning, sweet friends. Welcome to another Call to Calm meditation. I'm here, and you are hearing the sound of my voice because it's my role to break you out of jail, to free you from a prison that you don't even know that you're living in. A prison that you are stuck in as a result of an over-attachment or over-identification to experiences, past, present, that have nothing to do with you. That actually, there is no individual personal experience of life. There's just a universal consciousness, an infinite intelligence, a universal love at work through us all that is actually doing everything. And after a while, we begin to realize that the only reason why we're suffering or why we experience any suffering is because we are falsely attributing what is happening in some way, shape, or form to us. Sweetheart, what's happening isn't happening because of you. What's happening is happening so that one day you'll be able to love another person and provide them an entry point into the truth of themselves. To live beyond praise and blame is to remember that God is the doer of all things. Or whatever you believe in. To live beyond praise and blame is to remember that God is the source of all things. So your freedom comes when you remember God, or love, or light, or presence, or whatever it is that you believe in. In that moment, you realize what every great being and mystic before you realized, that your life actually belongs to God. And everything that's happening in your life is because of God. Everything is coming home to itself. Everything is returning to love. And that's happening through you every day. Close your eyes, you beautiful human beings. Open your palms and take some long, deep cleansing breaths. Resting in the awareness of your breath, immediately frees you from attachment and identification. Becoming aware of a deeper truth, that God, the universe, creation, life, has been doing everything through you, your entire life. This morning, we're going to break you out of jail. And this jail, this prison, Maya, the matrix, the simulation, is an illusion. Seated where you are, or laying down, becoming aware of everything that you've identified with, or everyone or everything that you're attached to in some way. The past, enlightenment, oneness, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Off in the distance, your good old friend Panache rides up on a horse with a golden key. And almost immediately, as soon as you become aware of these attachments or these points of identification, you are unshackled from them. Your emotions, your feelings, the experience of your mind, your physicality, your body, your biology, your past experiences, your present experiences, your circumstance, your situation, familial dynamics, societal constraints. All of it falling away. Until eventually You no longer experience your life from within it. You're now aware of it and experiencing it from outside of it. While you were in it, all you could perceive was a series of disjointed, confusing, overwhelming events that made no sense at all. Now that you're out of it, you can see how absolutely precise and perfect every experience that you have is, and how that experience in and of itself has been a blessing in the life of another. From this vantage point, you realize what every great being before you realized. That your life belongs to God. That God's will is being done through you. That God made you to be exactly the way that you are. And that everything is a part of God's plan. And that in fact, there is no separation between you and this love that's known by many different names. It's all the same thing. It's all the same love. It's all the same light. This experience provides you profound peace. And the freedom to fully play your role. But standing here, outside of it, isn't what this is about. You find yourself stepping back into the reality, the life that you've known. Except now, you're not attached to any of it. You're not identifying with any of it. It's just grace. It's just vibration. It's just love. It's all just happening. It's all just happening. You are free. Free to be however you need to be in any moment. You are free. life, and everything that happens is so that everyone can come home to this truth. Just take some breaths and just notice how you feel. Being human is not a personal experience. Being human is a universal one. And how interesting that everybody who has a near-death experience or some transcendent mystical experience shares that exact truth. That all of this is about love. That there is a light and a love present within all things. And that every one of us is a part of that same light and that same love. Today's Wednesday, and we're on a little blue planet spinning around in an infinite universe. Let's see. We have a group alignment session today. What is that? It's an opportunity to get out of jail. Every day, I facilitate jailbreaks with people like you from all over the world. People who are suffering and who don't know how to get out of it. People who want freedom but haven't quite remembered or discovered how to access it. So the group alignment session today is going to be great. Also, if you're an impact, just a reminder that our mastermind starts tonight on Connection, coincidentally. So I'm very happy about that. And then also, just a reminder that this Saturday, we have an online immersion, an opportunity to be together for 5 hours to explore this very thing. Online immersions came into being because so many of you expressed that it was hard for you to travel, to leave your homes, to leave your lives, to get on planes, to book hotels. Would I please offer a one-day retreat that you could come to online, that could be recorded, that you could then experience in the comfort of your home, in your pajamas, was the specific request. So online immersions came into being for that reason, as a response to the request of this community, which is why everything comes into being. So this Saturday, we get to be together for 5 hours, and we get to explore really the only thing that matters. This isn't about personal development or spiritual development. This is about the complete and total liberation of you. I personally can't think of a better way to spend your time. Head on over to the website, all the info's there on everything. If you're on YouTube and new to me, hello. Hit the bell button, like and subscribe. I love you infinitely. And if you'd like to come to these every day, we've been here now for 1,418 days, if I'm not mistaken. Every single day. Why? Because what else are you going to do? Once you know who you are, and you know why you're here, what else are you going to do? Sending you all a big hug. Wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day. And remember, being human is not a personal or individual phenomenon. It's a universal one. That everything that you've gone through, everything that you're going through, is for somebody else. One day you'll meet that person. I'm looking forward to meeting the person who has the spouse who keeps choosing movies about things that die. One day when I meet that person, I'll be able to hug them authentically and meet them totally, because I have lived that experience. Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way, because all of these movies that involve some sweet puppy or kitten or parent or child transitioning remind me that mortality is a thing and that we have to make the most of all of the time that we have here. So I'm personally grateful for all these movies that remind me to not waste my time, to make the most of it, and to remind you all how blessed we are. So, thanks, Jan, I love you. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I love your movie choices. And Still Magnolias, fantastic movie. Wow, one for the ages. All right, take care, you beautiful human beings. And remember, don't be Mick Jagger. Be Jesus. Mick Jagger's a rock star. Jesus Christ was the one and only true superstar. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.